Three Grots in a Vox is intended for a mature audience. This means there will be crude language and discussions of adult themes, especially if we're talking about tactical marines or Gabriel's Seth. Viewer discretion is not only advised but encouraged. All opinions are our own and often given for humorous purposes. Any advice is given largely for entertainment purposes and would probably be ignored. But if you do learn something useful, count it as a win.
Cool. Welcome to the Three Grots in a Vox. What are we, a podcast? A live stream?
I mean, you signed us up as a podcast, and we technically advertise ourselves as a podcast. And let's be honest, if we're just doing like video content, we're fairly shit. So let's say we're a podcast that's audio only.
Yeah.
And then the video in the background is set.
It's a bonus.
Yeah.
Despite
Despite the fact that all the things in it and the pretty pictures are kind of useful to see what we're talking about at any given moment. It's kind of
I don't think anybody actually watches it.
it's hardly possible.
From what people actually say in the comments and things.
Oh, they just put it on when they're
put it
hobbying,
on in the background just as background chuntering nonsense.
Okay.
I mean, that's
cool.
why people watch my channel. So I mean, there you go.
I've heard the term chuntering before. That's a new one on me.
I mean, I've heard some chunt. My grandma used to use that term.
Fair enough. Yeah, so it's been a while since we've done a pre-recorded one. In order to give people a break from us rabbiting on all the time live and hoping to like deal with people's comments live in the chat, and Tony having to cope with one that's not pre-scripted and having to ad-lib on the fly.
I can't do that. You can tell. That's why I keep making ridiculous statements.
Woohoo! We're on Aeronautica Imperialis. And what the fuck is Aeronautica Imperialis? I have no idea what you guys know already, but I guess we'll find out as we go along.
I've got a Thunderhawk and some of those other Space Marine little fightery things.
Cool. We'll see some of those. So you've got some models.
I've bought the box set for
I know
I've bought the original
box set
but
and bought some planes as well. So
he
cool.
has.
Ultimately, Aeronautica Imperialis is 40k does Top Gun. That is basically what this game is. And it's fun. It's really cool. I've enjoyed every game I've played of it. It's really, really good. It's in-depth enough to be fun and engaging, and simple enough to be really, really easy to get into, which is cool. And hopefully that will get reflected.
Can you fly upside down over the top of a MiG?
Yes. In fact, you can position your plane whatever the fuck way you like on the little stemmy basey thing. It doesn't matter in the slightest, because all that matters is the base. The little hex space underneath and the way that's pointing determines everything. So your plane could be flying backwards and upside down, and it wouldn't, in rules terms, matter in the slightest.
Cool.
I like it.
You have to paint these, right?
Yeah, they come unpainted, just like
and put side like compare
GW.
Compare them to like a Warhammer 32 Primaris Marine.
No.
Have you got one you can show us, Mark? Because I know you've got your orcs there. It might be easier.
I probably do, actually. Yeah, give me a second.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like,
no, I know how big they are, because I've done some of these for commissions, and they're amazingly detailed.
But also quite small, you're saying?
Relatively small, yeah. So there's a couple of tiger sharks down there, and Mark mentioned Kata earlier, and I did him a couple of tiger sharks, and I've also done his full-size 40k tiger sharks.
Right. So
and they are the mold smaller.
There is your average infiltrator marine, and this is an orc fighter bomber.
Okay.
So that's a big orc plane and a regular-sized space marine.
Cool. So it takes like a couple hours to paint each one?
I mean, well, not this one. This one I sprayed white, sprayed blue, sprayed fucking blue, it's clearly red. Sprayed red, sloshed red ink all over it, did a really hard dry brush all the fucking over it, and then picked out some details in tin bits and little green stuff for the thing up there, and that was done.
I see.
And I sprayed the base to make it look like it's my base, because then all my models have the particular colour base, so I can tell them apart from any other
tin bits
person's army. Yeah, tin bits.
That's an old pot of tin bits, that is.
It certainly is. It's really lovely. It looks great.
Did you get tin bits in the new colours?
Oh, those war colour ones?
Yeah.
No, but I only bought their base set. I think they do. Actually, I've got a little thingy here, so I can tell you if they do. Do they have a tin bits equivalent? I hope they, because they've got metallics.
Have they?
Yeah,
Okay.
they do. They do. They offer a tin bit. So
Cool.
I might see if I can get that and see if I compare it with the original tin bits Citadel one.
And compare it. Yeah. These are the factions in the game currently that you get to play as. You got Orcs in the top left. You got Eldar in the middle top. You got Space Marines on the top right. You got Tau on the bottom left. You got Necrons, bottom left middle. Custodes, bottom left right, and Imperial Navy, bottom far right. Custodes are technically not a faction completely because they've just got one plane, and they can fly alongside any other Imperial faction if they want to.
I see. Okay, cool.
So
you have it's dogfights, and you pick. Do you know what? I won't ask more questions until you show me some more slides.
That's all right. Missions are on a slide we'll get to later, and dogfights is one of the types of gameplay that you can have with this one going on.
Have you also covered where the rules are for these? Because that's a bone of contention, apparently.
It is a bit of a bone of contention, and I wasn't going to go into massive detail with it because it changes from day to day, but I am going to go into what you need to get started right at the very end, and I'll touch on that when we get to that point. So the basic rules of the game are it's played on a hexagonal board. The hex space is critically important. These are ones that somebody has painted up quite nicely.
That is such a good idea. I'm definitely stealing that.
Very cool.
Like, no hesitation. I'm straight up stealing that.
Yeah, or your different color ideas.
Mine are going to
for
be
it.
green, but yeah,
that's fair. You'll see there are two number dials in each hex space. The one on the right is altitude, and the one on the left is current speed. And each plane has a minimum speed and maximum speed between 1 to 9, and a throttle rating that they can go up or down by each turn. So more nimble planes can slow down or speed up really quickly, and ship planes can only have like a throttle of 1 and just go up one step at a time, and they can't slow down very quickly necessarily. And because it's on hexes, there's no like measurements or line of sight issues or anything like that. The hex is predefined. You either see it or you don't. There's never any argument. It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Whenever you shoot to hit something, you always hit on a 5. I don't care if you're the most elite space marine in the world or a shit orc in a plane that isn't airtight whatsoever. You hit on a 5. You make damage better. A las cannon will damage a lot better than a Dakar jet, for example. But you'll always hit them on a 5+, which is a nice little balancing mechanic.
My wife just bought me more pizza.
Oh, awesome. More pizza. Hey.
It's been a long day.
Ranges are done in 3 brackets. You always count in hexes. Short range is 1 to 4 hexes, medium is 5 to 7, and long is 8 to 10 hexes. And different guns fire a different number of shots depending on the range rating that you're at. So an Orc Dakar jet will fire, I don't know, 8 dice at short range, 4 dice at medium, and 0 at long range. Whereas a railgun might do 0 at short because it's impossible to move with the tight sort of maneuvering that you might have and get a decent solid bear on them, and then do 2 dice at medium, 2 dice at long range. It's a way to add variety to the way different weapons work.
So does that mean that you can say, I don't know, maybe you've got a railgun spaceship, you get in close and it can't hurt you?
Absolutely. It might not be the railgun. I might be misquoting what railgun does, but there are definitely guns that do that.
So you can reverse kite, for want of a better term.
Yeah, exactly. It is certainly if Tower's sitting there with their railguns trying to shoot you at long range, and you're orcs who don't have anything that fires at long range, you just zoom the fuck in and dogfight them to hell all the way around them, and they'll have a really hard time trying to get a bearing on you. The game has 5 levels of altitude. 1 is the lowest to near ground level, and 5 is like low orbit, upper atmosphere kind of level. Shooting something at the same level of altitude as you is fine. Shooting something at a different level of altitude has a -1 penalty for each level of altitude difference between the two of you. So if you're trying to hit something on 1 altitude higher or 1 lower, you're hitting on a 6. And if it's 2 altitudes higher or lower, you can't hit them at all.
Okay. Does that count for the range as well? So if you're up in the sky, does that mean you're now at long range?
No, range is strictly measured horizontally on hexes, and altitude just modifies the hit roll.
I misread that as 5 levels of attitude.
They do that too, I'm sure.
It ranges from pleasant to right dick.
Yep, you're not wrong. Orcs, because their planes are not airtight and cannot They have a hard height restriction of altitude 3. They can't fly any higher than that.
Okay.
The game. Maneuvers are an important part of this, which I'm going to show you in a little bit more detail on the next slide when we get to it, because that's how you decide what your plane's going to do and how it's going to work. This is a game of alternating activations, so whoever has initiative gets to choose whether they wish to move first and shoot first, or move second and shoot second. And then what that means is you move a plane, then they move a plane, then you move a plane, then they move a plane, so you can jostle for position. If you move first, then you're putting your plane out to be repositioned in favourable way to be shot at. So moving first is bad, but shooting first is good. So a little tactical choice there as to what you want to do. And tailing fire is the basic mechanic of the game, which is if you end a turn with one of your planes behind one of your opponent's planes, and you're in their rear arc and they're in your front arc, as in you're literally following each other rather than just like flying at right angles to each other, then you get to fire at them a second time because you are chasing them with tailing fire through the skies, and you get extra shots.
Do some planes have like extra guns on their back to try and deal with that? Or
yes,
you think it's World War II style?
The this Orc heavy bomber, fighter bomber that I showed you, has got a little turret at the base of its tail there that shoots backwards. It's like a couple of little guns.
Okay. Sounds pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, and the Thunderhawk gunship has rotating turret heavy bolters underneath its wing that can shoot all the way around. So
can it shoot its big gun on the top?
Yeah.
That's wildly inappropriate for air-to-air combat.
Yeah, it's quite powerful. The Thunderhawk
shooting a fighter with a turbo laser.
The Thunderhawk is a beast.
It's probably also all of your points, is it?
It's at least half your points. Yeah, it's getting there.
I bet that Ares is pretty daft as well.
So yeah, it is. I think your average battle is about 150 points. That can be roughly 9 Orc Dakka jets, which are the cheapest planes in the game. So I think they're what, 16? No, that can't be right. No, they're 9 points each, I think. No, that doesn't work. How does that work? 16 points sounds about right for 150 points. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And the Thunderhawk is, I think, 50 or 60 points.
Okay.
So from the cheapest
like
to one of the most expensive. Yeah.
So is Orc Dakka jet spam the best way to play it?
That's the way it's my preferred way of playing it.
Because it just feels like that's such a ridiculous numerical advantage.
It's great. You can just I can move first, and I'm going to lose a Dakka jet, and I don't give a shit. But I've got 8 more, and you've got 3 planes. There we go. But they're really easy to kill because they're just shit planes. The maneuvers. When you do your initiatives before you do who moves first and who shoots first, you have to assign a numerical token to each plane on the board that you control. And more maneuverable planes can do more of these maneuvers, and less maneuverable planes can do less of these maneuvers. And you put the token face down, and once you put it face down, that is the maneuver that your plane is going to do that turn. You can choose whether it goes left or right, which way it ends up pointing in any of these maneuvers as it goes along. So you still have some flexibility once you've chosen it, but you don't have all the flexibility in the world. And as you can see, that wing over maneuver in the bottom left there is incredibly flexible in where you're going to go and where you're going to wind up pointing. So Eldar interceptors are some of the few planes that can do that sort of maneuver.
So what would happen?
So is it like you can do numbers 1 to 6 or 1 to 4 or 2
yeah, an Orc Dakka jet can do maneuvers 1 to 3.
Okay, and what would happen if I did maneuver 5 and that ends me on the same tile as one of yours, and maneuver 5 has no way to go anywhere else except forward? Do
not end. If you end a maneuver on another jet, you take a point in damage and you move another space on. Don't do it.
Okay.
The game really wants you to not have collisions.
Okay.
Yeah, or try and have collisions.
Yeah, they don't have that many collisions in Top Gun.
Yeah.
But so you can't be at a higher altitude or a lower altitude than other planes?
Not on the same hex, no.
Not on the same hex?
No.
And you can't ram someone for a laugh?
No. There are Grot bombs, which are flying bombs piloted by a Grot that a Grot mega bomber drops off its wings, and they fly next to something and explode and do damage to it, which is the closest thing you get to a ram. If you've seen the Captain America movie where the Hydra guys just drop out at the end of that big ass plane at the end, they're like them but piloted by Grots. They're great. But no, if you were to do maneuver 5, the stall turn there, you could choose how many squares forward you went before you changed direction, and then you could choose which direction you pointed and how many hexes you went in either direction.
I see. Okay.
After you've placed the number, when the time comes for you to flip the token over and actually do the maneuver for the plane that you're moving.
Okay, I think that makes sense. No, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So is it a valid tactic then to try and get one of your planes in the hex in front of one of your opponent's planes?
Yes.
So that they have to crash into you to do anything?
They normally have enough flexibility to not have to do that unless you've literally filled every hex in every option that they can go to.
If you're in the square directly in front of them, I don't think there's any maneuver here that doesn't...
No, they can't end in that hex. They can fly through it.
Oh, so you can fly through a square with another thing on it. You just can't finish on that one.
That's right, yes.
Oh,
Sorry
right. So the stalls... So, yeah, you'd really have to struggle then.
Yeah. It's very difficult, and the game really doesn't like you doing it. So it makes it very, very difficult indeed.
I see. Okay.
Pushing the game on a little further beyond just regular dogfighting stuff, there are rules for bombing and shooting ground targets, because that's a staple of Top Gun air combat type stuff and attacking. There are models for ground assets like ground-based turrets and anti-aircraft fire back at you, or warehouses on the ground that you've got to take out. There are rules for some planes having transport capacity and having to drop off troops in order to attack an enemy installation or something. There are rules for landing and taking off to facilitate dropping off troops. If the troops don't have... Some of the troops have jump packs and can just jump out the back of a flying plane as it goes along and maybe die on the way down, but maybe not, depending on how fast the plane is going. Otherwise, if they're an Orc jet, they either just chuck them out, they don't care, or they have to taxi to a landing, then the troops get out, and then they've got to try and take off again afterwards. And there's also rules for jinking, which incredibly insane planes have the rules for, which currently I think is only Eldar and Necrons, because Necrons don't care about G-forces, and Eldar are just that maneuverable. And that is when you take your action with an Eldar jet after you've moved, when it's your time to shoot, you can either... I think you can jink a hex in any direction around you, one hex, but you have to maintain the facing that you're already facing. So it's great for getting an extra hex of distance or getting out of somebody's arc of fire that they put themselves in after they've moved. It's wonderful, and I love it. Eldar and Orcs are my favourite jets.
Is Orcs your only army then, or have you got another army? So
I've got an Orc Air Force, I've got an Eldar Air Force, and I've got a Thunderhawk gunship.
Oh, cool.
Because I wanted to buy a plastic Thunderhawk gunship.
And how much does like a Thunder plastic? How much would that
About
cost?
£30.
25 to 30 quid, yeah.
Okay. That's
And we're fucked up here, boys.
6 stacker jets was 25 to 30 quid.
For all 6 or each?
For 6 stacker jet planes, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cheap actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
I saw I had a beer.
Oh, yeah?
And I was like, oh, that'll be fine. And it says here, look, the world's most extraordinary beverage.
Yeah.
Eggenberg.
What is it, 8%?
It's fucking 14.
I was going to say, that's the beer you need after Parents' Evening, it sounds like.
Yeah. It's got a little picture of an old man on the lid, which is quite cute.
I mean, at 14%, that beer is well on its way to just becoming a whiskey, I would feel like. It's halfway between, isn't it? It's been extra distilled.
I've got a busy day tomorrow, so this is going to be interesting.
Pausing for a minute while Tony gives us a taste test, because we all know this is why at least half of our viewers watch this shit. Got the lovely little ASMR there going of the beer being poured.
Ooh, it's pungent.
In a good way or a bad way?
I bet this is going to blow my nipples off. Oh, fucking hell. Jesus, that's strong. No, he says not far off of bloody whiskey. It's not far off of bloody whiskey. You know, you get some things that when you taste them, you're like, oh, it doesn't taste that alcoholic. That fucking does. It tastes like ethanol.
Do you need to go water it down?
I think you can you? Oh, this is a terrible choice. Why did I buy it?
You could you could water it down, I guess.
You can't water a beer down.
You water whiskey down.
You do water whiskey down, yeah. I mean, if you watered a whiskey down, it would basically be the same alcohol as that beer.
Yeah. And it probably tastes fairly similar as well.
In actual flavour terms, does it have a flavour or is it just alcohol?
I don't know, I can't tell. It's too busy going, whoa, ethanol! I'm
Fair
sure
enough.
that there are people out there that love this. It's an Austrian beer.
Okay.
And this is the sort of thing that they get very excited about. Castle Brewery, Eggenberg. Stammesschlaus. Yeah. Brewed only once a year on December 6th. This is now interesting, sorry. Stammesschlaus is aged for 10 months before bottling. Served with hearty, robust dishes and desserts.
Because you're
In
going to need
particular
it.
with chocolates. Or an after-dinner drink by itself.
Okay.
I like how they recommend a robust dinner. They're like, this beer is going to blow your tits off. You need something robust with this. Like,
It's basically an after-dinner liqueur.
yeah.
Brilliant. So this is what a game might look like midway through when you're all in close range of each other and you're doing dogfighting stuff. The little face down token with the A on it is the face down number maneuver. Some of them have got face up maneuver tokens to show that you've already moved them. Some of them have got little Dakar bullet hole tokens on them to show they've taken some damage. They're pointing in various directions. Yeah, you're in the middle of a dogfight at this point.
So how many hit points does something typically have? Like,
It varies. An Eldar Interceptor or a Dakar Jet has 2 hull points. A Marine Xiphon, I think, has 4 hull points. A Thunderhawk has, like, I don't know, 12 or 15 hull points or something.
okay, well,
So it's a big old beefy boy.
Yeah, exactly. So the Marine fleet, you've got Xiphon Interceptors. They're obviously your main intercepting air-to-air combat type. You've got Storm Eagles for your main troop transporting aircraft. Fire Raptors are gunships who are just in there to shoot in all directions except backwards and put a lot of fire on things, scarily in some ways. And the Thunderhawk is a Thunderhawk that has a lot of points and a lot of hit points and a lot of guns that will shoot in all directions. So
Except the big one on the top.
yeah, Marines tend to be mid to long range fighters, and their strongest firepower tends to be at mid range, give or take roughly. They tend to be not shit at close and not shit at long, but mid range is where they want to keep you to have the most damage output.
Right. So where do I find the rules if I want to play a Marine player?
I'll get there.
Okay.
And I can't remember exactly where, but no, I do know exactly where, and we'll get there.
Okay.
This is not the entire variety of Orcs planes. Orcs have, I think, got the most variety of planes that you can have, but I've picked the 4 more interesting ones here. You got the Dakar Jets in the top left there, which are your basic bog standard fighters. You got fighter bombers in the top right, which do a little bit of shooting, a little bit of bombing, and I've got a few more hull points and a little bit less speed and maneuverability in Dakar Jets. The yellow ones are your Grot bombers, which are Orc heavy bombers modified to drop Grot bombs. It has got a limited supply of them. It can carry 2 or 4 Grot bombs per plane, and they fly off like miniature planes of their own and then explode a lot, doing rather surprisingly large amounts of damage to anybody they're next to, which is quite nice.
I like that big one.
Then you've got the Orc Mega Bomber, which is their version of a Thunderhawk gunship. It's a 60 to 70 quid resin beast from Forge World. It is huge and it's really good fun.
I kind of want to look that up now.
Can't fly for shit.
I want that.
Yeah.
Look at it. It's bonkers.
I'm surprised it stands on that flight stand, to be fair.
I know. It's awesome.
It's very cool. If you want to look it up, you can look it up on Forge World now.
I'm literally looking it up on Forge World now.
All right.
Because I've seen that picture and I'll be like, yes, I want one. Can I have one of them, please?
Playing Orcs in Aeronautica is really good fun. You just don't care. It's great.
Right. No, don't get distracted by Blood Bowl. All Aeronautica Imperialis. Right, I've got the costings for people as we go along then.
Okay.
Right.
Most of the Aeronautica stuff is on the Games Workshop store. There's a few bits that are on the Forge World store.
Well, I'm only interested in the Forge World stuff.
I did warn you it's a bit pricey.
It's not cheap. John, place your bets.
Well, I think someone messaged me the other day saying the falchion's now like 250, and when I bought it, it was like 180. So I guess like Brexit plus cost of living has made Forge World prices shoot up like 30-40%. So I could say that was maybe like 70. Now it's like 120. That might. I saw Sanguinius used to be £80. He's now 100.
Yeah, I know he's £100 now. It's not quite as bad as that, John. If I'm honest, I think it's gone up to £73.
Oh, that's not so bad. I mean, if Sanguinius is £100, that doesn't seem that bad at 73.
Isn't that big a bloody model?
It's not. It's bigger than you think. Let's be fair.
But pieces. It's 61 pieces.
It's not 70 quid big. I'll agree. But it is pretty chunky. But it is very cool.
Yeah, I was a little bit sad that Sanguinius was £100 now because I don't.
Have you not got him?
No.
I can't believe you haven't got him. To be honest.
Orcs as an air force are fast. They're not especially maneuverable. They're not especially throttleable. They have lots of close range firepower, not a lot of long range firepower at all. And they generally tend to have not a lot of hull points, but they're quite cheap in points. So they're some of the most numerous air forces that you have. And they've got the most toys because grot bombs.
You do like the little bombs.
They're cool.
The little bombs are so fantastically cute.
The Eldar Air Force is expensive, fast, insanely maneuverable, insanely throttleable, made of tissue paper, more so than the Orcs. And they tend to be they can be good at any range, really. You can equip them so that they're really powerful at close range, or really powerful at mid, or really powerful at long. It's totally up to you.
So they're very flexible, is that?
Yeah, in terms of firepower and what sort of play style you want to give them. And because they've got Jink, if you load them up for close range firepower, fly them at high speed into your opponent's air force and just rely on jinking around all over the place, they can be really annoying, which is why I quite like them.
No Dark Eldar.
There are no Dark Eldar yet, no.
I don't wonder if they'd lump them in or something, but it doesn't seem it. So come on, tell me about the big vampire.
There's two vampires. There's two vampire variants. There's Vampire Raider and the Vampire whatever the other one, Hunter, the one that was called. The Raider is a transport. It is the only Eldar transport. So if you want to take part in match play with an Eldar fleet, you've got to have a Vampire Raider because you're required to have stuff that can do transports. It's got a lot of hull points. It's not as fast and maneuverable as some others, but it puts out a fair chunky of shots, which is nice. Although the pulsars, no, I can't remember. I'll look it up in a bit.
Fair enough.
You got the Phoenix bombers. You got the Hemlocks that I haven't pictured here as well. Yeah, they're a nice versatile fleet, which is nice.
I'm surprised you called them Eldar.
I always call them Eldar because that's how I grew up knowing them as Eldar, and it's a point of mini rebellion to not call them Eldari. In the same way, it's not Astra Militarum, it's the fucking Guard.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
So, yeah, that's why I do them that way.
And they're not Adeptus Astartes, they are Space Marines.
I mean, they actually fucking just write Codex Space Marines in the book these days. They've given up.
Nobody's going to fucking go with it and be like, what is that? But they did try and trademark the name Space Marine, didn't they? And they got that batted back, and that was the big point where they started renaming all of their races.
The Raider does not have Jink, which is probably sensible. And it has
it's a nice looking plane.
It's only got 5 structure points. Transport
quite
3.
a lot cheaper than that crazy Orc thing.
Yeah.
Place your bets, John. How much would a Raider or a Hunter cost me?
50.
I think I paid 35 for it or something around about
37, so it's gone up a couple of quid.
Yeah.
That seems very reasonable.
Yeah.
They're not big. It's like that big.
They're bigger than the old Epic versions used to be. They're about, I don't know, they're about twice the volume an old Epic version of it used to be. So I don't know, maybe about a third bigger in terms of wingspan.
I just pre-ordered that single model company champion, the Primaris one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The made to order, and like by the
What's
time
he,
you factor
27
in,
quid?
with postage, is 26. Yeah, which is that's the cost of a single Space Marine.
The made to order things. I don't know if he really is. I don't know. I got one from someone brought that back from the Games Day, but
Oh, that reminds me. I'm by the time this episode airs, which is next week from where we're recording it right now, the Games Expo will be on, UK Games Expo, and they'll be doing the event exclusive miniatures. So if either of you want me to pick anything up at that point, let me know.
Okay.
The two exclusives are the Commissar and some Age of Sigmar barbarian type thing.
Yeah.
There might be other stuff.
he's pretty cool actually. I like that model.
The Commissar does look kind of cool. And if you're watching this, then and you're going to be kicking around the expo, I might see you there.
I
Maybe.
think there's quite a lot of tickets still available for that. If people want to go.
Oh, the expo. There's an unlimited amount of tickets. They take up 3 halls of the NEC. It is not small, and the entirety of the Hilton.
Yeah,
it's grown hugely. It's really, really good.
Nice. But anyway, back made to order. I bought in the previous run when they had the Cal Space Marines come back, and I got a new Abaddon because I couldn't find my other one, and it's the one that's got no arms. And Khan the Betrayer, and a new Araman.
Hi, Garrick.
Because I love that model.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was like that cost me the better part of 100 quid.
I was actually going to say I put an extra a Blood Angels upgrade sprue into my basket just because I'm starting to run low on custom Blood Angels. I think like just a few years ago that upgrade sprue was £6.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is now?
8.
It's a tenner. It's a tenner. I was like, wow, so that's almost doubled in as many years.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, it's probably not Games Workshop's fault. That's the UK economy's fault.
It'll be partially Games Workshop's fault, but a lot of it will be the economy's fault.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a little bit of profiteering going on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
got to maintain the margins.
Yep. Let's look at the Guard.
I don't
Navy.
know all the names of these, largely because I don't care about them very much.
I do.
But the top left ones are, I think, Thunderbolts.
They are.
Bottom left are Vultures or something, or Vendettas or something
Vendettas,
like that.
I think.
The top right, I don't know what they are.
They're Marauder Destroyers.
Marauders. Yes, that's right. There's 3 or 4 different types of Marauder because they're the
there's
big,
more Marauders
heavy
in this than there are in 40k. So in 40k you've got the Marauder Bomber and the Marauder Destroyer. In this you've got the Marauder Bomber, the Marauder Destroyer, and another
2 more types.
Yeah, they've introduced a couple of new interesting ones, which is cool.
Orcs, incidentally, can use guard planes. You can use Thunderbolts and Marauders as looted planes. So orcs are piloting them, and you can just use these, which is kind of cool, I thought. There's also rules for having them in a Tau fleet as well, for Gwevessa piloting them. Which is
Fair
quite
enough.
nice.
So the middle one you've got there? Oh, go on.
Bottom right are Avengers?
Yep.
Maybe?
When they come out, they were the Ecclesiarchy's fighter, and they had all like Sisters of Battle livery in that one when they first come out from Forge World. And I've never bought one, and I've always wanted one because it's kind of cool with that kind of A10 central chain cannon thing down the middle.
Yeah, they're pretty powerful. And in the middle, you've got the Gunless Wonders, the Arvus lighter shuttles.
They're so cute.
Which are really cute and cool. And a friend of mine bought like 3 or 4 packets of these to use as scenery for his Adeptus Titanicus scenery and bases with his Titans and stuff.
Did you not get lightnings?
Yes, I just didn't put the picture on here because I was going to run out of space. There are lightnings as well. And there are also Vulture gunships, which are the different kind of Vendettas. And I think that's all the different Navy and Guard stuff off the top of my head.
How do they play?
They're very middle of the road. They do a lot of DACA at medium range. They're not especially fast, not especially slow. They're not maneuverable or unmaneuverable. They're not especially cheap, but they're not especially expensive either. They are very average, which is fine.
Fair enough. So all-rounder sort of.
Pretty much. Tau, I think I've only got the 3 different types of aircraft, although they've got multiple loadouts on them. You've got the Hammerhead? No. The middle ones are the Barracudas, and they're the main
Yep.
interceptor air-to-air combat fighter types.
So
It's a tiger shark in the top left.
Tiger
right?
Shark, that's the one.
it's,
Yeah,
so they are actually different planes. You've got the Tiger Shark, which is the one with smaller guns, and then you've got the Tiger Shark AX1, which is the one with the big old, like the proper
the huge
fuck off great big rail guns.
enormous rail guns, and there's also ion cannon versions of them as well that they
Yeah,
do.
there are. So there are different. You can have in 40k, you can have the ion cannon or the rail cannon. Although they never updated the rules to it, so it's still got the old rail cannons, that are not nearly as good as the ones on the Hammerhead.
Yep.
Even though they're twice as big.
They haven't made a Tau Manta yet for Aeronautica. If they're gonna, I'd have thought they would do, given they've made the Thunderhawk and everything else. But if they're gonna, they haven't done it yet.
It's a lot bigger, but it would be incredible. It'd be so an expensive model, but it would be absolutely incredible.
And the top right, you've got little tiny Remora drone aircraft, which are Forge World 1, and they're quite cheap and good for filling out points and stuff. Tau are reasonably fast, not very maneuverable. They're very, very good at long range fighting, and tail off the more close in you get with them.
I've got a box of Remoras up here. I've just having a look. And a box of, this is a Barracuda.
Okay.
40k scale ones
yeah.
I need to do.
That'd
be quite fun. Could you play Aeronautica with 40k scale planes?
Yeah, people can do and have done. I know they did that at one of the like major Adepticon or Bay Area Opens last year, just to have a laugh. Stick them on huge enormous hex bases. Another thing the Tau do is they tend to have lots of guns that fire in all directions as well to compensate for the fact they're not especially maneuverable. So it's hard to outmaneuver them and get them in a position where they can't shoot back at you. Necrons are really elite. They are fast, they're maneuverable, they're tough, their guns are punchy as fuck, and where they're like 40 points a plane. Even the basic ones.
And they only have 2 different types of models, basically?
The ones on the left, there are 2 different kinds of them. There's a troop transporty type and a shooty type.
So there's a Doom Scythe and a Night Scythe.
Yeah, and the ones on the right, I think there's only one type of them. I don't know what they're called.
That is a Night Shroud.
Okay.
They do look cool, don't they?
They look like Cylons. It's great.
They look really quite evil, and I quite like that. And I like the fact they've gone with the elite route for them as well, because they really should be.
Yeah.
And in 40k, I feel like they're a little bit. They're not done justice to their fluff. You know, they are completely in minute. They flit around the sky. You've got no way of predicting where they go, and they kill anything they try and kill.
They give no fucks at all about G forces or stresses in any way, shape, or form. They'll
they are the biggest nightmare of nightmares for Imperial pilots and that. And I think in 40k they're a bit of a joke.
Yeah, because they can't be that powerful as aircraft in general. 40K.
Or there'd be crazy numbers of points.
Yep.
So I like that they're quite powerful here.
And the final one is the custodian ship, whose name I also don't know.
It's the Ares.
Yeah.
That is also relatively expensive, if I recall correctly, because that's a resin Forge World kit. I've never seen one played. I think I've seen one in person at Warhammer World once. I don't know what it does or how it shoots. It's probably quite expensive. It's probably quite tough. It's probably quite shooty.
It is. John, place your bet.
Based on that one being 73, I'd say that this one's going to be similar, 65.
37.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of the cheap. It's on the cheaper end of
comparable to the Vampire. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Considering it's custodians, it probably costs a boatload of points as well, so it's probably cost effective to buy.
Well, in 40k, they're 400 and something points.
Okay.
So they're about half the cost of a Thunderhawk.
But in this, they're a bargain, so buy Ares gunships, I guess.
I've always wanted a 40k one, but I can't. It's not even that big. And it's £300.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever seen one.
You don't really get the bang for you bought a Thunderhawk though, so
yeah. So I keep.
Oh, what did you think of the Custodians preview? Did you read it?
I did.
What do you think?
People are making a big deal out of Trajan getting toughness 6 and the Terminator's getting toughness 7, but overall, I think in line with a lot of the other ones, they have had a bit. They've taken a big old hit, really. If that's going to be their sort of standards. I mean, Toughness 7 Terminator sounds incredible, and it's nice. Don't get me wrong, but the things that used to wound them on 5s still wound them on 5s.
Yeah.
A couple of things that used to wound them on 4s, like heavy bolters, now wound them on 5s. Okay, but they've lost the pipper movement, which is quite important. The axes are damage 3, which is lovely, but only AP -1 and -1's a hit now, which they never used to be. And you lose an attack for that.
Are you okay with what you've seen of them? You're interested in playing them?
I'm interested in playing them. The thing that I think is going to be their Achilles heel is they only have the same leadership now as Space Marines. So gone are your leadership 11 custos that would never break.
Works a bit different now, doesn't it? So
yeah, they're really likely to get all panicky and scared of things. You know, they've got a more than even chance. Once you've got any kind of debuff whatsoever, they've got a more than even chance of failing any leadership test.
Leadership's a lot different now, though, right? It's because it just means you're OC 0.
From what we've seen, yeah, and you can't have
if you've only got 5 units in your army,
I suppose.
When they can no longer hold objectives, that's suddenly quite a big deal.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So yeah, I was quite surprised at that. Some of the weapons seem to have taken a bit of a nerf. The grenades took a bit of a nerf.
A lot of weapons have taken a nerf across the board.
A lot of weapons taken a nerf to their AP. They took a big one though. Everything else got -1 to its AP. They got -2. They were AP -3, and now they're only AP -1. They gained a couple. They've gained D6 instead of D3 shots. Okay. So all in all, and Trajan's actually I think quite a lot worse. His aura's really hammered. His moment shackle was much less powerful than it was.
No.
It is.
You just saw the 2-up Invan though, didn't you?
You saw 2-up Invan for a turn, or for a phase, but you've got to preempt that. Whereas the old system, you didn't, and you could be like, I've shot it with a railgun. No, you haven't. 0 damage. So you could do it after people did things. Now you've got to say, well, this turn I'm going to give him a 2-up armor save for a turn.
And now that's the power used.
And that's the power used, and it might be thinking, oh, fine, I'm not going to shoot him then.
That'll be interesting. I think the thing that I liked about the 2-up invulnerable save was if you attach him to a unit, he can potentially soak all the damage that you put into that unit and make a unit invulnerable.
No, because they have to attack the unit before they're allowed to attack him.
Yeah, but they put their attacks into the unit. The defending player gets to choose where he's taking the saves. So you put all your firepower into my big unit that he's with.
From what I was reading, I think that it works with the bodyguard thing. If it has to hit the bodyguard before it can hit the character.
I don't recall.
I thought it was that the defending player chooses, and I guess if you choose Trajan and you take a single wound on him, then you have to keep taking the wounds on him like you would. I guess we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
So I think it's the reactive. It used to be that you could one big hit, you go nope, no thank you, you do no damage.
Plus all the powers and abilities for everybody have gone down the toilet with the index rules, and they'll get
he's lost all these very powerful auras that he used to have as well. He's lost a point. He's lost a wound. He's gained a point of toughness.
Was it a dog? I can hear.
It will be. Do you want me to close the window? Is it annoying?
No, not at all. I was just.
Yeah,
it's not my dog. Let me close it.
So overall, I think it's enough. I don't think they're very scary. I think at the moment, my money on the we don't know points is the problem. We don't know a lot of the other units and all this sort of thing. But if I was a betting man, at the moment, it feels like the strongest ones are the Flavors of Knights. And the Tau look quite scary depending on how much they cost. That new rule about the way they can add to their ballistic skill and that.
The Spotters looks interesting.
The Spotters looks like a well-built
army. They have taken a general nerf for their ballistic skill in down to what, 4-up?
No, they've always had 4-up.
They've always been 4-up, haven't they?
Always been 4-up. Now this is actually the other way around. It's a buff.
Okay.
Because now you're very easily giving them 3-up.
Thousand Suns? Cabals?
I haven't read that yet, if I'm honest.
Okay. I'll leave that to you to take a look at.
Hey, well, I guess we need another live episode. Cover all the leaks.
Go through all of this stuff.
Anyway, let's get back on with that Aeronautica.
Back to the actual subject of the video. So, in the rule book that I've got, which is this rule book here that I bought, because the rule book you get in the starter box sets for the game come with enough rules to get started, but they don't come with the full set of rules that you need to play all the variety of missions and stuff.
I see.
It's slightly aggravating.
Oh.
That one had 5 main playable missions in it. The dogfight is a straight dogfight, planes shooting planes. No more complication to it whatsoever than that.
Okay.
The chase is an interesting kind of mission where you have 3 hex maps. You start at one end and you fly really fast across the 3 that you've got. And when
Oh,
a
that
plane's
sounds
about
fun.
to leave the edge of the 3rd one, you take the tailing map off, put it here, and then any planes that were in that 3rd map that's got removed have basically left play. And it keeps going, you keep flying, you keep chasing as fast as you can down these maps, trying to outrun the planes that you're going, but also if you're leading them, then they can potentially be following you and tailing fire you. So it's an interesting little idea.
There's a bit in my head. I've got a Death Star trench run.
Yeah, I mean, that's very much like the Canyon Attack Run at the bottom, which uses the same style of map, but it also puts you you have to be like altitude 1 or 2 maximum, and it also puts rock barriers and terrain on each map that you've got to fly around and avoid and dodge.
Do you get terrain in this game much, or
you don't at all? Terrain tends to be ground assets and AA turrets and things. So in order to have terrain in this, you're going to have to either print out a bunch of hex-based tokens on paper, cut them out, whatever you want to do, just to like put over the hexes and say, this is a height 1 or a height 2 rock face or something like that, which is exactly what Workshop did at the Warhammer World Tournament I went to a year ago.
Or you could really cool 3D prints of rocks and shit that go on, and you can make them really wicked.
Yeah, but you might need a lot of them, and it might take some time. But if you want to do that, that would also look really cool.
That'd look so cool, wouldn't it?
It would. Subterranean Assault is a large square map, just like Dogfight. Again, you're capped at altitude 1 or 2. There are rock terrain pieces that you have to fly around, and there are like ground assets and defense turrets hidden around and behind these rock faces. So you've got to fly and maneuver around and shoot, line up bombing runs on the ground assets to blow them up while your opponent's trying to do the same to you, or defend their little underground subterranean cavernous airbase thing. And the Sky Fortress attack is you take the middle hex, you take the surrounding hexes around it, and imagine that is a floating sky fortress in the air, kind of like there was in the Black Widow movie. And it's dotted with guns all the way around it. It exists at altitudes 1 to 5 simultaneously, and you've got to shoot it, blow the crap out of it before it kills you.
That
and it's got a silly number of hull points.
That sounds like a proper 3D printing. Have some fun with this because I'm going to make a 3D printed Bespin.
Yeah, pretty much.
That sounds more like an excuse for you to get your Thunderhawk from 40k on the table as the Sky Fortress.
All the little tiny ones trying to kill the big one.
Yeah, you could do.
Titan.
So they're all very evocative.
Get one of the Adeptus Titanicus Titans and put that.
Yeah, that could work. Or a Dreadnought.
They're all trying to kill the big Emperor class Titan.
Yeah. As it stomps around, reaching up really high into the sky and the clouds. Yeah, that could be quite cool.
There's such cool imagery in that, isn't there?
The Companion is one of the latest supplements that they did for it, with rules for the Eldar stuff and the Necron stuff in it. It's also got some pages in the back for matched play scenarios and making it a balanced way to play tournament style if you want to. The way matched play works is it has 3 types of scenario. There's a dogfight scenario, a ground attack scenario, and a drop troops off scenario. And you're allowed to build 2 lists. And you're going to have to play all 3 scenarios. So you've got to compromise on what you want to build to be able to take care of different scenarios or face them, whether you want to build one to do special or however you want to do it.
So is that kind of how tournament would work? So you can't just, you've got to bring a transport, you've got to bring a, don't know, short range or a long range or whatever, different things.
Any plane with a gun can attack a ground asset, but ones that are equipped with bombs or air-to-ground weaponry do it better, more efficiently, and more effectively, more damagingly. Essentially, any plane can point its nose down to the ground, fly quite low, and shoot at a ground target before pulling up again. That's in the rules to do so.
Okay.
And But yeah, the missions that you have in these scenarios in this match play bit say you must have at least one plane with transport capacity. You must have a plane with the bomber role type in your air force and all this kind of thing. There's also a book they did called Aeronautica Horus Heresy, which is Aeronautica with Marines on Marines, because it was kind of a slam dunk, and why the hell not? And I think it leads into something else that's coming on, which I'll get to in a bit. But
well, we've got our theories on that, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah.
I think, is it worth talking now about what you can buy and what you can't buy with the rule books?
Not just yet. No, another slide or two. But talking about Aeronautica and Horus Heresy leads us into scale. The aeronautical planes and the Adeptus Titanicus Titans are built to be the exact same scale as each other, leading into speculation for the last couple of years that they should be, or they're going to be doing Epic. And with the tease that came out of Warhammer Fest, what, about a month ago?
Yeah,
it looks very much like they're going to be doing Horus Heresy Epic.
What was the tease? I must have missed that.
It was right at the very end of one of the live streams they did on Horus.
Was it a picture or a video? I can't remember.
It was a short video that they did.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch the
Horus
Heresy.
Like a black map with loads of blue laser lines over it in a tactical sort of view from above kind of a way.
Yeah, and there's some sort of like pun on Epic or something, wasn't there? Or
yeah.
Epic
So we imagine they're
something.
going to be doing Horus Heresy Epic with Aeronautica planes, Titanicus Titans, produce some tanks for it, produce some infantry and everything else.
I'd be sad if it was Epic. If it was Horus Heresy Epic. I know it's an easy win for them at the moment. There's a lot of Horus Heresy stuff. But
I'd love to see the Orc Gargants,
yeah.
and I'd love to see the Eldar Titans and all the other various Tyranid beasties and stuff.
It'd be nice to see the newer races that I've never been in Epic.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really cool.
Maybe long term they'd do it. I like you, I really hope they do. But again, like you, doing Horus Heresy Epic sounds like a much easier, much more natural thing.
That as the last books of the Horus Heresy series are coming out, that we start to focus more on things like the War of the Beast and the Purge and things like that, and that's given a reason to start bringing in some more races. But of course, like
Gargants,
the Orcs and the Eldar and that were involved in the Horus Heresy.
Yeah, peripherally, but they certainly were. And Orc Gargants and Eldar Titans have been part of Epic since almost the very beginning of Epic. So
yeah,
who knows? Maybe Workshop are just figuring out what
I think they were from the beginning of Epic. I don't think they were in Titanicus, but I do think they were in there from the beginning of Epic.
Yeah, yeah. Which is cool. But no, we'll see that, or we won't see that. Which brings me on to the final slide, which is what you need to get started, which is here where I was about to expect to discuss where you can get the rules from for these sorts of things. Realistically, to play the game, you need a copy of the rules, you need some planes, you need some D6, you need a maneuver diagram, which you could photocopy or print off if you wanted to, quite happily, I'm sure. Permission is given to photocopy for private use in the books and all that. You need some tokens, and you need a hex board, which you can either buy separately or eBay or get printed off from one of these places that does mouse mat boards and so on. Rule books. The starter boxes come with what are basically starter rule books that have got starter rules for the planes that come in that starter set. They don't have the full rules and customization for the planes that come in that set. But they have enough to get you playing with what is in the starter set that you've bought. To get the full rules, you need to get one of the hardbacks like this. And there's 2 or 3 different versions of this. And that comes with the full rules, with all the rules of ground assault and bombing runs and all, and taking off and landing and all the various keywords and so on. But they're all out of print. However, you can still get them in ebook format, I believe, through whatever workshop method they've got of selling those in ebooks. I think the Horus Heresy Aeronautica book has a full set of rules in it as well. The rules for the various different planes and air forces are dotted all over the fucking place, and they're really difficult to get hold of official sources if you want all the rules for the various different types of planes. However, Battle Scribe, fucking brilliant. All the rules for every kind of plane you could possibly want, all in Battle Scribe. Easy.
Right. So I've been having a look into this because
You're
I've been
interested
trying to
in
get
doing
into this
so,
game.
and Carter's bought into it as well, as I understand it.
Yeah. So our little gaming group, we've decided we're going to try and play Aeronautica Imperialis.
Mhm.
And we're actually having an absolute mission getting the stuff to play Aeronautica Imperialis
Mhm.
because they have stopped production on all of the starter boxes.
Yep.
I've got the first one that was released, but that's quite out of date.
That was Orcs versus
Imperial Guard.
the Guard planes, yeah. They have FAQ'd and errata, but you're right, it is a little out of date.
So I do have that, but if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to get a copy of that.
Mhm.
The only rule books you can buy are the Horus Heresy one
Mhm.
and the companion book.
Okay.
The Horus Heresy one does have the full rules in it, but it only has the rules for Astartes.
Yeah, which figures, because that's what it's focused on in
Horus
terms of
Heresy.
Air Force airplane rules wise.
And then the other one, the companion, has only got rules for Necrons,
Mhm.
Eldar, and then weird stuff. So it's got the rules for looted aircraft and Govesa Tau using Imperial aircraft.
Yep.
It's-
Necrons are in the companion, yeah.
Necrons. It says Necrons, Necrons,
in there.
Eldar, and random weird add-on bits for the other things. It doesn't have the rules for Tau or Orcs
No.
in there.
Tau
If you
are in
want to
this
get-
one, I think.
Yeah, which you can't buy anymore.
No.
If you want the Tau rules, the only way to get them legitimately is to buy the digital version of the book that Mark was just holding up there, the
Yep.
Air War one.
Or go try and find a second-hand one at a bit of a markup these days.
Or you can try and find a second-hand one at a bit of a markup these days. But it's even more complicated than that. You can't just buy the Air War book. If you want to buy it, you have to go through the Warhammer digital site,
Mhm.
and then you've got to buy it in their EPUB 3 file, which means you
Yep.
need an EPUB reader to be able to read it.
Which means it'll work on Apple devices and Android devices, but it won't work on Kindle Fire devices.
Yep. Because Amazon are locking down the Kindle, so you can't email them PDFs anymore as well, which is bloody annoying.
Are they?
Yes,
I've been finding it more awkward, but they haven't stopped it yet.
they've said they're going to stop it. They're trying to lock it because people are buying cookie copies of books and load them on. I've got loads of a Humble bundle that I loaded on there, and
If
anyway.
that goes ahead, that's going to be the last Fire tablet I ever buy. Oh well.
yeah. And it costs you £17 for the complicated EPUB file that you can only read on some things. It's a bit tricky. And if you want the Imperial Guard rules, then and the other thing is with those ones, they don't quite line up, apparently, from what I've been told. They have got a few weird things about them, which means they don't line up with the current new set of rules that are in the Age of Darkness book. So they don't work properly, and they haven't FAQ'd it.
Essentially, what's happened is they released the base set of rules. They've released new planes as time goes by, and the expansion books they've released alongside them have got rules for the planes that they've released as time goes by. But they've not done a nice compiled compendium book with all the stuff in it they need to.
Yeah.
They have done so with Titanicus over the last 6 months to a year. So I suspect it's something that's on the cards for Aeronautica. But it's just not happening right now.
And if you want the rules for Imperial Guard, you've got to get the Rinswald book, which is another one of these EPUB books. But again, the newest set of rules, which are the Horus Heresy rules, they haven't updated any of the other books to properly fit, or so they haven't FAQ'd the old books and the rules for the old flyers to fit with the slightly different change rules in the newest rule book.
Well, Horus Heresy is always going to be meant to be self-contained compared to Xenos stuff, but no, you're right. I get you.
So it's absolutely bonkers trying to play this game at the moment if you want to do it legitimately.
It is a bit tricky.
Which is crazy to me because it seems such a nice self-contained.
It is.
Beautiful
It is self-contained.
models.
It's fun. You don't need a huge amount of stuff for it. Why should it be such a faff to get into and start playing these days?
I just want to go into Warhammer, which I can do. I can go into a Warhammer shop. I want to buy some planes, and then I want to play a game with them. And at the moment, I can go into a Warhammer shop, I can buy some planes, and then I can't do anything with them.
I think a lot of the problem is this is one of the very, very few products that last November Black Friday time, GW put on official price reductions for the box sets of this game, which they're almost unheard of doing in the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years or so.
Oh, longer than that. I've been playing for the better part of 30 years, and it's the
So for
only
GW
time I
to
can remember.
actively discount their stuff means they had a lot of it and it wasn't selling. So that's a bit of a worry. But if they're going to be making Epic, as the tease would hint that they're going to be, then they're going to be using the planes some more. And if people have got planes, then it makes sense.
That's what I'm wondering. I wonder if they're going to do.
Release.
They're going to do an Epic release, and they're going to kill off Aeronautica.
I don't think they'd kill it off, but they might do like an Aeronautica version 2 recompiled rulebook. Just
I think rolled in is more what I mean when I say kill it off. So Epic becomes an umbrella, and you've got Titanicus and Aeronautica, and
if Epic is Epic Horus Heresy, then all the people who've bought all the modern 40k Xenos stuff for Aeronautica would be pissed off.
They'd be pretty pissed off if they couldn't play with it.
Yeah, I don't see it as being as being likely, but it's possible. You never know, really.
But I just wonder if that's why we've sort of not seen updated things, because they've got something.
Maybe they're keeping it for that. Who knows?
You know, maybe there's like a box set, and it's like you've got the rules for Aeronautica and Titanicus and Tankies, and it's like 3 books. Do you remember the old? You remember 6th edition when that came out, and it was like those beautiful volumes all in like a slipcase.
Yeah.
It annoys me when the rules get that fragmented. I mean, I don't have much to say on it, except
it's frustrating.
It is very frustrating if you get told that,
Because if you missed out on a limited release and you can't pick it up and it's got critical rules that you need to play the game, it is aggravating as all hell.
Yeah.
Then you have to wait for somebody to come through and get you the missing.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they I also hate digital. Like, if I want to play a game, I want the rulebook on paper, because I just, yes, everybody has a tablet these days, but I don't always remember to take my tablet with me. Do you know?
Yeah,
okay.
And it might not always reliably have charge, and it's just easy to have a paper book next to you to look at.
I own a phone, but
sure.
I don't own a tablet. I've got absolutely no use for one. I don't know what I'd use it for.
The only thing I would use it for would, well, I mean, you'll get one soon to keep your kid quiet when you need some peace and quiet, but
I use mine for convenience as another screen to watch shit on when I'm painting, or if I want to refer to strategies or something when I'm raiding in Warcraft. It's occasionally handy.
I never go to a tournament with my rules either on my phone or tablet. Like, I just want them on paper. Like, it annoys me when someone's trying to find rules in the app and it's taking them ages.
And I get very frustrated when somebody shows it to me in Battlescribe.
Yeah.
Battlescribe says this. Well, I don't give a shit what Battlescribe says. Show me in the rulebook.
Official rule source, but could always be wrong, and occasionally is.
I would say Battlescribe is quite often wrong, yes.
It's often enough that you can't rely on it. Yeah.
But
ultimately, I really like Aeronautica. It's a great fun game. You can get a game done in an hour and a half. It's if you can find all the bits you need to.
I know that seems a bit of a strange question. But like, for example, Underworlds.
It's as serious as Blood Bowl.
Yeah. Underworlds is a competitive game. It was written to be competitive. The rules are really tight. There's not a huge amount of RNG in there. It's designed to be a competitive game. That's why it's so streamlined in that. Whereas you've got Blood Bowl on the other hand, which half the time the rules are broken and don't work, but they don't really matter because it's more about you having a bit of fun and working out between you. And
the rules are tight. The permanent 5+ to hit all across the board means that RNG is a considerable factor. You can out-strategize your opponent very easily. You can make the most of opportunities one way or the other. You can play it very competitively, but there's always that little edge to it.
Sorry, what do you mean by this 5+ to hit?
Every time you roll a dice to hit, the to hit roll is 5+.
So if you're a custodian or an orc, you're still hitting on a 5.
Yep. I thought I said that at the start.
You did 100%.
It's just not sunk through. That doesn't make. But what? So I've got one shot from my giant Thunderhawk cannon. It hits you on a 5.
Yep.
And you've got 15,000 shots because you're an orc, and they all
hit on 5. Yeah.
I accepted it because I figured it's supposed to be like a air combat
It's to
game
represent
and an air
the
combat.
maneuverability,
Yeah,
and
everything's
speed
flying
and
around like
difficulty
crazy.
of actually getting a hit on someone while they're flying at really, really high speeds through the air. As I
Which
understand
makes
it.
sense. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
It's also maybe it's a balancing mechanic for one Thunderhawk cannon that if it hits you will kill you, and loads of little Daka shot. I don't know. They chose to do it. It works. I don't question it. I move on.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I really love it.
Everything sounds great except the fragmentation of the rules.
Yeah. And that's how I feel about it. I'm super excited to play it, but I'm quite miffed because we went out, we bought all the books we bought the 2 books, we bought some models and that, and we're like, right, we're going to play it. And it's like, hang on, shit, the rules aren't here. Where do I
Which
get
2
the rules?
books have you
got
got?
to get an EPUB. Has anybody got a tablet? Anybody in the room got a tablet? No.
Which 2 books did you get?
Well, the only 2 you can buy.
Okay, all right.
Now I happen to have the mini rule book and whatnot that come in the very first starter set, but that's quite out of date now.
Yeah, it's enough to play with, but it's not everything.
Yeah. And then we're like, well, if we want the rest of the rules, we either have to get a hooky copy, we have to get an eBay copy, or we have to go and somebody needs to go and buy an iPad.
Yeah. So if you're watching this, GW, fix the availability of the rules, and aside from that,
yeah, it wouldn't be so bad. It was a fucking PDF. And don't be like, oh, it's piracy. Not being funny. If I can pirate a PDF, I can pirate an EPUB. Control C, Control V. It's not fucking hard.
You're not wrong.
It's just unnecessary level. I'm like, yeah, all right. I could buy an EPUB, and I bet if I typed on the Google convert EPUB to PDF, there's probably 5,000 places I can do that. But it's an extra level of faff that I can't be bothered with.
And it's a good game you want to support, and I'll be happy to support and give good money to GW for making this game that is fun and playing with.
Yeah.
And you're making it difficult.
Yeah, I will give you money to let me play your product. But it's like the whole piracy argument, isn't it? People stopped pirating TV and video games when Steam and Netflix and that made it so convenient there wasn't any point to.
And accessible, yeah.
And accessible and reasonably priced. And then as the TV shows all divorced onto the 9,000 platforms you need now, people start pirating things again, not because it's cheap or they can't afford it, but because it's easier.
But so this doesn't end on a complete negative. The game itself is
great.
Fucking fun. Really like it. Yeah.
I want to play Battlefleet Gothic with Aeronautica rules.
Quite a number of people do, to be fair.
It's just suddenly
with Aeronautica
rules.
I
bet that would work.
Maybe it would. I don't know. Did they say or not say that Battlefleet Gothic was coming years ago when Specialist Games first formed, or was that always?
They've hinted at it loads of times, but it's never really got off the ground.
Yeah.
I've got the original version somewhere, which has cardboard ships, and it was released free in White Dwarf.
You've spelt it wrong.
Have I?
Yeah, it's not glory. Ugh.
It is.
It's not.
It is.
It's Tony's typo since day one. It's glory.
Categorically is, because it says so right there in front of you.
It's a pile of gory or a glory hole. It's not both.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I consider myself soon to be chastised. Been a while since we've done one of these.
It has.
Yeah, it's been forever. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So you'll all have loads to show because it's been a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can honestly say that I picked up a paintbrush when I went to a painting course a few weeks after Alan was born, but that is the only time I've picked up a paintbrush since he was born.
I've largely given up on 40k since the start of the year in Arcs of Omen. It's been fun, but I haven't cared about it because it's been clear that 10th edition was coming and my level of investment just went downhill. I've been playing boarding actions, but I've not been doing anything new, really, or much new. But we do have some submissions from everybody.
We do.
John.
Yeah. I've painted the Thunderhammer Death Company just in time for Thunderhammers to lose their 3 damage. Isn't that great?
Hey.
So these guys, in true John fashion, will go on a shelf and never get fucking played.
And you've got a Deathwatch Blood Angel Death Company dude there, I see.
Yeah. And a Sanguinary Guard one up the top. Because I mean, anyone can fall to
they're
the
gonna
Black
fall,
Rage,
yeah.
I guess. Yeah. So yeah, these guys are like, I think 1 more hour and I'll be finished the edge highlighting. Then they need a bit of like washes, and I'll be done with these. They're very
Does
close.
the edge highlighting not look very sort of like Tron, like blue
That's
glow?
what, I had Tron as well in going through my head. I think it was cool.
I mean,
It's
It's very
effective. It's
Tron.
bright. It's impressive. It highlights the edges of the stuff really, really well. But
I think the problem was I started edge highlighting when I was very, very bad at painting, so the lines were very thick. And then I've just kept everything same. I only edge highlight black models. I don't edge highlight gold models or red models. I just recess wash those. So it's just black because I can't really recess wash black. Maybe if I'd started these guys now, I'd just use like, what is it, contrast black Templar and be done with it. But yeah, and I mean,
I do everything possible to avoid edge highlighting because I absolutely despise and detest it with a fiery passion. So I sympathise.
I just think I'm slow at it. It takes about 4. I think it takes me about 2 hours to do the blue, and then about 2 hours to clean up all the mess.
I
Because
always
I always
figure
make
that
a lot of mess.
if something in the real world, the edges aren't artificially like lit up when you see armor plates, and it's the bit that takes the longest for what for me feels like it has the least amount of benefit to the model. But again, that's pure personal preference. I don't want to criticize what you've done here in any way, shape, or form.
Put it this way, I will
get
be
into-
so happy when these guys are done. Sorry,
To get into technicals and painting things. So the reason we edge highlight is not because it's realistic, it's because it aids readability. So from a distance, if you're standing 3 feet from the model, by edge highlighting all the edges, the same as recess washing and recess shading all your shady parts, you can see the definition of the model. You can see the shape of the model. Whereas if you don't edge highlight and you take a few steps back, then the model can sort of fade into a
looks
bit
like
of
a blob of red or blob of black or whatever. Yeah, I get it.
and that's the sort of purpose for it. Now, that being said, you can go full heavy metal and edge highlight every fucking edge on the model. And it can look stunning, but I think it looks a bit cartoony. You can go have a bit of fun with it, like John has, and go Tron Marines, which I think look wicked. I did something like that with Dark Elba years ago, and I like that. I really like that look. Or you can do a little bit of subtle edge highlighting where it makes the most difference. Maybe on the helmets, maybe on the weapons and that sort of thing. Or like John says, on black particularly suits a little bit of edge highlighting.
Yeah. The one thing I've done edge highlighting on is on my Whirlwind, because just doing a little bit of orange dry brushing along the edges of the red holes of the Whirlwind really do bring that out, and it doesn't take much effort or time to do so. So I was quite happy doing that.
It's absolutely that readability thing. So, I mean, I tend to go for a little bit of... I don't like edge highlighting. I think it looks too silly. So I tend to do a tiny amount of edge highlighting, and that's about it. But it is that's the reason for it. It's that readability that it brings out, and that's one of the reasons that heavy metal are so famous for it. Because you got to remember that they're not just building game models; they're building models that they want to sit on a box art on a shelf across the room, and they want you to be able to see from across the room what that model is and what that looks like. So they go for that big contrast.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
Big popping, looks great, looks really clear, really clean. And that also is something that the kids can see, and they can look at that and go, oh, I can copy it. You can't copy that, sorry. It's a lot harder than it looks. But it's attractive to them and attractive on drops.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, well, I'm gonna be finish these guys this week, and then
You'll be finish them, never play them again, because Thunderhammers aren't going to do what they currently do.
Yeah, I guess, and well, I'm just going to pick another model and get ready for 10th edition.
Maybe by the time this video airs, and you'll have seen it, but currently before, when we're filming, maybe we'll have had a Death Company datasheet preview.
Yeah, maybe.
It's possible.
That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Or maybe Reavers are going to be shit hot, and you can use all the Reavers you've got, John.
Cool. I need to paint some more with edge highlighting, because I did my Reavers in black, because I'm an idiot.
I think that could look wicked, actually. That'd look really Death Company.
Could do, yeah. This is what I've been working on over the last month, 6 weeks or so, because my Dante showed up, which is great.
How dare you put that in here? Just making me jealous.
Is Tony reaching for his now?
Here's Kata.
Have they still not dispatched yours yet?
No.
Oh, dude. And these are 3D printed Blood Angel Brutalis dreadnoughts that were like Death Company Redemptor 3D print builds and stuff. And
They look wicked, man.
I'm happy with using them because they are not the same as the official workshop ones. If you try and use the instructions to build these from workshop, it doesn't work because they're put together very differently and they're made slightly differently, despite how superficially they look the same. But they look cool, and there's 3 of them, and they're going to kick ass.
They look wicked, even if they're not official. How much do you have to pay for each one of them?
A friend of mine gave me one of them for free as a fan of the channel, which I thought was really cool. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And then I paid him to print 2 more off for me. I think he charged me 30 quid for 2 more.
Are they resin or are they?
Yeah, they're resin.
You can't even buy the Brutalis yet. Like out with, well, you can't buy it. Period. It's not
separately. Yeah.
You know, well, you can't even buy the box it comes in either.
There's loads of those boxes. I was in Games Workshop the other day and they had a rack of them that they couldn't get rid of. There's my one that I haven't.
They're not going to be hard to get hold of for long because when new codex comes out, they'll be available separately. I'm fairly certain.
They're not available on their website.
No, but they've got loads of store stock.
Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, I noticed this the other day when I was in the shop that they had a shelf of like clearance in there, and it was full of those. The Wrath of the Soulforged King, you know, the one with Azrael.
Yeah.
In it, they had 3 or 4 boxes of that.
And Vashtor, because nobody liked the Vashtor rules.
Yeah. And amusingly, when I looked in a bit closer, and a load of the Cadian Stands box as well.
Okay.
Clearance doesn't mean it's cheaper, right?
Style shelf. They had exactly
like
zero
end
money
of line, not actually reduced, but sort of end of line type thing. Yeah.
So they put it up there like it's a sale box, you know, and there's all these sort of signs saying, you know, we're trying to get clearance sort of thing, and they charge exactly full price.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, it's not any cheaper, right?
No, not even not a penny.
Okay.
But yeah, you got these lovely Blood Angel patterns on them. You got the little arm guards, the little legs. Managed to magnetize the little chest guns.
These look super wicked, dude. I mean, I think these maybe even look better than the Brutalis just because of the heraldry of the Blood Angels on them.
Yeah.
I'm going to ignore the Death Company X's, I think. I'm going to like sort of gloss over them and just paint them as red Blood Angel dreadnoughts rather than Death Company ones.
I think I'd paint them as Death Company because they've got the Magna Grapples on the top as well, haven't they?
So they've got the Magna Grapple cables. But they don't have the actual grapple guns themselves because it was a choice of either having them or the Brutalis stubber turret on there instead. It did come with the Magna Grapple things you could put on the top instead if you wanted to, but I made it as a more general Brutalis build rather than a Death Company Dreadnought build.
I think they look... I'm going to go further than what John said. I think they look significantly better than the Brutalis models. I really do. Even the silly gun on the top looks far less silly on that than it does on the... It doesn't look like it's floating about quite so much.
It might be the angle that I've taken.
I mean, it could be, but yeah, I think they look really good. There's someone who has made that clearly really loves their Blood Angels because you've got all those little nods to the classic Furioso kits. And
I had to go onto their 3D printing page site. Product site for this, and they've done a number of them. They've done Redemptor, they've done Space Wolf ones. They've done a few of them.
Yeah, this is someone who clearly loves their source material.
I mean, if I could get my hands on these, I'd be very tempted. 2 for £30 is great because I think the Brutalis is going to be at least 45.
That might have been mates rates. I don't know. It's entirely
mates rates.
God knows.
Yeah, but if you can buy the STL or whatever, you can.
Yeah.
I bet you know someone with a 3D printer, John.
Andrew's got one. He prints stuff all the time.
Yeah,
all the time.
I'll drop you the page for the STL then at some point later, if you like, off the back of this.
Yeah, send me the STL thing.
So yeah, building these and spraying these has been what I've been doing for the past 6 weeks or so because they were fiddly. They took a while to build, but it was fun.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like them. Awesome.
Took me a while to figure out what that thing on the left is there, Tony, but I finally worked it out.
Right, so this is going to be a little bit of a funny one. I've not done a lot because I've been busy. I said earlier that I haven't picked up a paintbrush since Alan was born, and it's not entirely true. I did because of that fellow on the right. Now, that fellow on the right was a tester model that I did when I was working out. So a few weeks ago, John and I did an episode where we speed painted or speed paint, I don't know, whatever we did, some Blood Angels.
Mhm.
And John sent me a list of what stuff he had. I dug around for the nearest stuff that I had, and then we did that. And that was my tester model to work out how to do that.
Okay.
And that video is on the channel if people want to watch it, although you do have to put with me going like this quite a lot and filming the top of my head. So that was a speed painted Blood Angel that I did in about an hour, if that.
An hour. Nice.
Using some different techniques.
Looks really good.
That was pretty fun. The other model on the left there is some sort of zombie thing that I think come from Curse City.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that was the result of me going on another trip. So
it looks like a Zenith highlighting experiment or exercise.
A few weeks ago, I went on a course, and that was an airbrushing course. It was just a beginner's one, and I went with a couple of the other guys, and they were a little bit nervous about going on their own. So I said, "I'll go with you," and that was with the Cult of Paint again. So that was fun. Got to spend a bit of time and hang out with the Cult of Paint people.
Did they remember you?
They did. I think they occasionally watch our channel.
Okay.
Now I'm going to talk about them.
Good thing or bad thing?
But yeah, so that was me deciding to take what I'd learned on the course and ignore it and just fuck about.
Okay.
So I thought, right, we're supposed to be looking at the idea of carefully building up highlights with paint and blending the two colors together. So I'm going to take the two most shit colors for going together, which was, it doesn't show up quite so well on there, but it was orange.
Yeah.
And a blue, but it was
a blue gray kind of thing.
No, it was supposed to be it looked like a bright blue. It was one of the contrast ones. I can't remember which one it was.
Okay.
But it turned out to be the weakest pigment ever. And I was hoping it'd be much more of a cyan. It looked like a cyan, but it
like
sure as shit wasn't.
Yeah, okay.
I was hoping for I'm sure I've got something here. Something a lot brighter and a lot more, I don't know. Here we go, this sort of like really bright blue.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't. And it was so weak, it really irritated the piss out of me actually, because it did about 300 coats to do that. It felt like 300 coats to do that.
I don't know, this sort of blue?
Yeah. So a nice bright cyan, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was me doing a bit of an experiment with that to see if I could get a cool two-tone cold shadows from the ground, warm shadows from the sky sort of look. And it was just a bit of fun, really. I enjoyed doing that. So yeah, that's what I did.
Fair enough.
And then I think, go on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then that was me taking it slightly vaguely seriously. And I say I did it vaguely seriously. I decided to highlight it upside down. And I decided to ignore the instructions. And instead of going from a dark red to a light red and building up my highlights nicely, I decided that I was going to go from green to orange.
Oh, is that a green at the top?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was, in the words of Henry Steele, a colour theory wanker.
Okay.
And I decided that my blend would be from green, just a nice dark green that I found that looked quite interesting and I hadn't used before, to orange. And I think it looked quite cool. It was I was just buggering about, and then I decided. Sorry.
Without going through yellow in the middle.
Yeah. So I went straight the way through a nice dark green as into a bright as all fuck orange. And I blended the two colours together to see what it would look like. And then I got sort of halfway through and thought, I quite like this. This is quite cool. So I took it a bit further than that. And there's a colour scheme in there where you go bright on the bottom. So you're reverse highlighting. So you're going bright from the bottom and darker towards the top. And that kind of orange to green.
The gradation of the colour's really smooth.
There's a colour scheme in there. And I just don't know what for.
Thunderhawk.
I've got one of them, and that's all red because it has to be red. I'm thinking that I might do those Votan with it.
Could be quite cool in the Votan, actually.
Could work with Vota.
Yeah, I need something
Got
with
any
nice
of the heck-
smooth armor plates to get the.
I was going to say, got any hecatons?
I don't.
No,
But I
they would
could have.
probably. It would probably look quite good on one of them.
The hover cleaner bikes and the tiny little. Yeah, cool.
So yeah, this was the result of me buggering about at a Cult of Paint airbrushing course. It was a very good course.
You happy with the
great
results?
intro. I learned some stuff that I didn't know. It was pegged as a beginner's course, and it really was a beginner's course, but that doesn't mean that I didn't learn anything. And I absolutely did. And I'll admit, and I'll put my hand up now, that I have never, someone is going to cry when they hear this, I have never emptied the tank on my airbrush.
Ooh.
The tank has the same as it's always been.
Is that the air tank or the paint tank at the top?
The air tank.
Okay.
So apparently that is going to come out orange when I finally do.
Oh, all right.
We'll find out when it breaks, because I'm never
One day.
emptying that fucker.
Sounds fair.
And then I did paint some things, but this was admittedly right at the beginning. I finally finished off a whirlwind just in time for 10th.
Yep.
Just in
because
time
it's
for
been
you to
sitting-
not need it. Same
We
as my
have
Death
we
Company.
have no idea how shit or not shit it's going to be yet in 10th. So,
Absolutely.
Do you want to place
it
a
was-
wager?
Go on.
not really.
I think it'll be completely useless in 10th. I think no one will run a whirlwind in 10th. I think the stratagem will be gone. No one will run it.
I think
But
the stratagem will
I
be
guess
gone,
we'll see.
but
Yeah.
I'm even money as to whether or not something like that is going to be on the data sheet.
Okay.
Don't know. Could be, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe once per game ability or something. So yeah, I finished off a whirlwind, and I had this Land Raider Proteus kicking about.
Nice.
So I got that done too. And because I'm a sucker for old stuff and retro things, I went with the worst possible loadout for it, which is twin las cannons, no assault ramp, and a single heavy bolter pintle mount.
Is that the build that comes with reduced transport capacity because it's got like comms tech or something inside it?
Yeah, it does for 30k. I can't remember if it does for 40k or not. But yeah, it's like the worst build. It's got none of the benefits and all of the drawbacks of a Land Raider.
Yeah, it looks cool. Looks
But
really good.
I love the very original, the first Land Raider, first ever plastic kit by GW aesthetic, when it had that single heavy bolter on the top and
the track's going all the way around.
the track's going all the way
The little
round,
cow
and-
catcher grill at the front. Yeah.
it was such a nice model. I think it's the one that I built on our New Year's Eve stream.
Well, cool.
It's such a nice model that I want to buy another one and do it again,
Awesome.
because yeah, it's a gorgeous kit to build. Really, really nice. So I think I'd have a lot of fun building maybe the armored version or something like that,
Cool.
which would be fun. So yeah, that's basically the sum total of what I've painted in 2023.
Fair enough. Yeah. Like I said, I've not been doing huge amounts of stuff either, so can't really say otherwise.
I've been using the time or the downtime from 9th edition just to get stuff finished, so I've got quite a lot finished this last couple of months. Which is insane. Normally it's you guys that have dwarfed me. For once I've dwarfed you.
Yeah.
Screen,
I've just
screen.
had absolutely no time to paint whatsoever. I'm at another. This episode will air in a week's
On
time
the
for us
first, yeah.
on the 1st of June.
1st of June, yeah.
And I'm at another Cult of Paint painting course or painting class on the 4th. So I'll be going and doing that. So hopefully I'll get some brush time before then.
Cool.
So I remember what end it is that you put in the paint.
I'll be at the expo on the 3rd of June. If rumours and expected timelines are to be believed, then supposedly 10th Ed will be announced for pre-order on the 4th, live for pre-order on the 10th, and releasing on the 24th. So the next episode after this, due to air on Thursday the 15th of June, will be probably in the middle of that pre-order window, and we have no idea what the fuck we're going to do yet.
So people should subscribe, because that way we will post a community announcement telling you when you can pre-order 10th editions, in case you missed.
And
It's
then
the worst
you'll
thing.
know all about that.
Because we'll post about it to keep you in the room. And we do actually have 10 members now on the channel as well.
We've got 10
So,
members.
We have 10
Is
members.
that
So
because
if
of
you,
those stunning pixel art grots and squigs?
Yep, absolutely.
that helps, yeah.
Thank you so much. Your support really helps us make the content that we do in the offensive and hopefully amusing way that we do. Keeps Tony in 14% beers, which is...
Jeez, I haven't even finished that. Look, I've got most of it left. I'm really struggling.
And
Really
this is our only our first month of membership. So 10 members in month one is amazing. So thank you to all of the members.
Your support is so very appreciated.
And that's not to take anything away from our fantastic Patreons,
of course,
who have been supporting us now for a good while now.
Yeah,
a longer time indeed, yeah.
Which is absolutely fantastic, and
it's so wonderful.
We couldn't do what we do without your support, guys. Even if it's just clicking like, clicking subscribe, it's those little things that keep us able to do this, even when it's been a little bit trickier, as it has been over the last couple of months for us to get together and do stuff. So we really do appreciate what you're doing there. Patreons and members.
Yep.
We give you a bit of priority when it comes to what you want us to make.
Yep, and also asking questions that we'll guarantee to answer during live streams and other videos and stuff.
We will.
Once 10th Ed's out, we got plans to do faction focuses and getting started with on all the factions that we can get through and get our head around.
We'll redo the tier lists over on BAC.
We're going to be doing tier lists over here as well, Tony. You bet your ass we will.
Well.
All right, you heard it first. We're going to be doing the Blood Angels tier lists here on this channel and not on BAC.
I was going to say we need to do tier lists of all the armies that we know.
Oh, I hate that expression. Yeah, die.
Yeah,
kind of fire. Yeah, so Blood Angels tier list will be on BAC, obviously, because
I appreciate
why
that.
Even. But other factions we'll do whatever we can on here or whatever we feels like fun with doing. But we definitely want to do as many getting started with X armies as we can get through and wrap our heads around and not sound like complete morons as we do.
And do you know what we'll know?
How we're going to do those? We don't know if we're going to do quick ones with the indexes and big ones with the codexes, because we have no idea how it's going to look.
Yeah, but
we don't know
the indexes.
What we will know is we will know the most broken army week 1, because Andrew will sell one of his armies to buy said most broken army, and then he will buy 3 times most broken unit. So we'll definitely be able, if you just want to get straight in with the strongest, most broken stuff, we will know what it is. We'll be able to tell you about it.
Either way, we'll go through them, we'll analyse them, we'll present them all for your delectation, provide offerings for starter armies, and all this sort of usual stuff that we've done.
Here's the important question then, with the 10th index.
All right.
Will Gabriel Seth get a data sheet?
Don't know.
I want to say yes, because I think it would be shitty because they just put them on made to order. So the made to order will be coming out.
But it's a limited time made to order, isn't it? And then it'll be discontinued again after a week.
Really shitty to be like, hey, here's made to order. By the way, you're not getting any rules.
He's just a Flesh Terror's captain.
What will be better actually?
Warhammer World. I checked. He's still not there.
What will be better actually is if they just make him Primaris, because if you remember in the books, he was very against becoming Primaris. So,
have you read that latest Flesh Terrors novel they did a few weeks ago now?
I have not.
I understand. I'm given to understand he's a bit more pro Primaris in that.
Okay, I need to get that
the
one.
Rest of his chapter is dead.
What's it called? The Flesh Terrors new book?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll look on Audible. I'll get it.
Rage, scream, rage, angsty, crying, angsty, blood for the blood.
My life is so hard. Help.
And I would wear black, but Korax beat me to it.
You make me curious now. What's it called? Flesh Terrors.
I did notice that they've put all the books, like Devastation of Baal, Dante, Darts in the Blood, into like an omnibus that's coming out like next month, and it's only like £15.
It's all the Guy Haley Blood Angels books that he's written recently.
If I'm honest, are the best ones.
And I don't have a copy of Dante. I don't
No.
have a copy of Devastation of Baal, so I'm going to buy the
I've only
omnibus.
got them on ebook, so sorry, on audiobook. So
Exactly,
a
that's all I've got as
physical copy
well.
would be quite-
Yeah. I like audiobooks, but I do like
nice
sitting
to
down with a
collect real
paper
ones,
book.
isn't it?
Books,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you want to collect the real ones, 100%.
Yeah. I still haven't read Astrath.
It's not his best, but it's okay.
I read the Mephiston trilogy, and they were shit.
I try to get into them, and I need to try again.
I
was
found
really
the first one a little bit of a brick wall to
very
try and
poor.
get through. Yeah. Which is a
Very
shame.
poor books. They
I mean,
are.
Dante was amazing. Devastation of Baal was just perfect. Darkness in the Blood was a little bit,
Right.
but generally good. Astarath was a little bit more minor than that, but also mostly good. The Sanguinius Primarch Chorus Heresy novel was not written by Guy Haley, but was a very interesting read nonetheless, I felt.
There you go. Right. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Yeah,
Remember,
pleasure as always.
subscribe, leave us
See
a
you in a
comment.
few weeks again.
Tell us if we thought we were shit. Tell us if you think we're wrong. So
Tell us
that
all
I
the
can be
things.
sarcastic in the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so
Everybody
much
loves
for
a nice sarcastic Tony.
the episode,
always
Mark.
So
Appreciate it.
polite.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys. Ciao.
Cheers. Bye-bye.